I'm Millie Weaver, and you're watching The Millennial Millie Show. Well, Balenciaga, the popular fashion brand, has come under fire after they did a photo shoot with children holding teddy bears wearing bondage and sadomasochism gear. Now, this is, I think, what originally drew a lot of people's attention to the photo shoot is why are these children carrying around dolls dressed in a sexual fetish, so to speak. And then that's what led other people to start actually looking into the photos and looking at some of the symbolism in the photos. Now, what you'll find here throughout this episode today might be disturbing, so viewer discretion is to be advised. You know, what we're dealing with here are essentially Hollywood satanic cults injecting their ideology into their artwork and then trying to push it off onto society and get society to unknowingly participate in their rituals and accept it. And that is part of the way that these satanic groups actually, you know, they get off on that power trip, essentially. Now, I don't know per se if Balenciaga is the one who did this. We know Balenciaga, they're the ones trying to say that, oh, it was the photographer, it was the cameraman. Many people see that as just a cop-out for Balenciaga to try to shift all the blame onto the photographers of the photo shoot. Now, one thing that people across Twitter have noticed is if you look and see here, you'll see some of the symbolism in the photo shoot where you'll see the little child in a rather messy room. But if you look here, there's caution tape, which caution tape's usually used for crime scenes, right? And in it, it has Balenciaga, but notice that there's a misspelling, which, you know, oftentimes these type of misspellings are actually intentional, right? B-A-A-L, Balenciaga. Now, what is Bale? Bale is a mythical creature in ancient Canaanite history, which was a demon god, which Satanists now, modern day, they worship Baal. And supposedly it was the worshippers of Baal that would sacrifice their children to their god Baal. Now, some celebrities have come out against Balenciaga, and they have essentially decided to throw away their gear or make some kind of a stance against Balenciaga, but there's a lot more here than meets the eye. Now, if you look at the name Balenciaga, many people are pointing out how if you actually separate these, you know, different parts of the word Balenciaga, you actually get Baal is the king when you do a Latin translation here. So is this just conspiracy theory or is there something more to this? You be the judge of that. Now, people also noticed in the photo shoot, there was a book on the desk of one of the models in their photo shoot, right, that had the name Michael Bormans on it. You look up Michael Bormans, you see that he is a painter, he is an artist, and he has some rather bizarre and I would say occult looking artwork. I mean, occult to say the least, right? You go to the site here that shows this artwork of Michael Bormans, and you see children dressed in no clothes, right? Nude. It looks like they're covered in blood, and they are playing with human body parts, all right? So what is this obsession with children and blood? What is this obsession with the occult amongst the Hollywood celebrities? Why do we see this repeating pattern where we see inserted into pop music videos, pop photo shoots, pop fashion, satanic ritual and occult symbolism being injected into mainstream information and mainstream fashion, essentially? Well, I went to Hollywood 5 years ago, and I did an in-depth investigative report into the secret occult groups and organizations inside Hollywood. People, when they first learn information, they tend to see everything in black and white. And so when you actually look at secret societies, you have to look at a general history in a really you have to look at it kind of neutral in a way to really wrap your head around what's really going on here. Yes, I'm going to be exposing the satanic occults in Hollywood, but you have to understand that there's a lot more to the secret societies and the minutia of what goes on in LA and in the various elite upper structures of their societies, so to speak. So let's go ahead and play this clip, guys. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you get something out of it. And then afterward, I'm going to be showing you even more about how Hollywood essentially worships children's blood. Los Angeles, California is home to a vast number of secret societies, New Age organizations, and satanic cults. There's even a bus tour. At the center of academic research into occult manuscripts, sacred rites, and rituals was the book collector Manly P. Hall. Friend to renowned academics, celebrities, and politicians, Hall amassed the largest collection of rare esoteric books and manuscripts in North America into what became the Philosophical Research Society and Library. People such as Carl Jung and Helen Keller came here to study these rare works. During World War II, President Roosevelt had the entire library placed on microfiche and stored in the Library of Congress to preserve it in the event the Japanese attacked the West Coast. It's essentially a miniature Library of Alexandria, keeping record of ancient history and literature and manuscripts that are hundreds and hundreds of years old. So it's pretty amazing. They do have like old versions of King James Bibles, they have Shakespearean works, they have pretty much some of the most esoteric and amazing pieces of history and relics. Now, although they do also have these satanic manuscripts and stuff that dabbles in black magic, these are kept there for purposes of history, of records. It's so that people can know what it is when they see it. It's how to identify what it is. So it's pretty amazing. We're very honored to be able to actually go in and see inside PRS. Manly P. Hall was a proponent of spiritual learning, but he was a great opponent of sorcery and dark magic. He was a contemporary with Aleister Crowley, and he made sure he let everyone know that he believed Crowley to be a con man. In fact, he actually kept one of Crowley's pedo poems in his desk so that if anybody ever came around wanting to learn about Aleister Crowley or follow in Aleister Crowley's teachings, he would pull out this poem to try and dissuade people away from following Aleister Crowley's demented beliefs.
But do you remember what Manly P. Hall's position was on Aleister Crowley?
Yeah.
Some of that stuff, because that's being popularized again. I was curious what...
He's against it. He kept some of those books, Crowley, but he would not allow anyone to read it. He was totally against it.
Well, wasn't some of it because Aleister Crowley was a pederast and that type of thing, and just...
Yeah, he didn't have any real discretion. Well, he just wouldn't allow people to read it.
And didn't Manly try to accumulate some of the works that have dark arts in it and black magic to kind of keep those things out of circulation? And
yeah, that's right. That's true.
So Manly P. Hall was against the sorcery and against black magic. There were instances where people actually were trying to steal these works. They were trying to break into the library. He had a lot of problems with these satanic cult groups trying to get their hands on these ancient manuscripts, not to study it, not to know about it, not to keep a record of history, but to actually go and enact the rituals because they themselves bought into and believed in black magic. Hall kept files of what he referred to as con artists, people who used occult doctrines for profit, such as fortune tellers, seance performers, and dark arts practitioners. Hall dissuaded the curiosity seekers from going down the wrong path, similar to how Dwight D. Eisenhower had photos taken from concentration camps to evidence to the world the great tragedy of the Holocaust, Hall accumulated a large collection of evil literature for the academic purpose of knowing how evil human beings can truly be. Hall also wanted to keep these types of manuscripts out of the hands of the satanic cults and practitioners of black magic to prevent society and pop culture from heading down the wrong path, while he exalted the virtues of the Greek mysteries, Renaissance, alchemists, and sacred religious teachings from culture around the world and through the ages.
To study our heritage from the past is not simply a waste of time, because most of that heritage is still with us. If not in the political and social circles of life, at least in the internal, subjective moods of our own existence. As time went on and religions and philosophies became more complicated, it was inevitable that efforts should be made to rationalize faith. But today we are in a little difficulty. Knowing that faith basically is the very cornerstone of survival, we find that many forms of knowledge, particularly scientific knowledge, exist largely to destroy faith. They want to take away from us the belief in those very invisible principles upon which we have learned to depend for peace of soul and peace of mind and peace of heart. It is true that God bestows life and is the final source of all. But the good life seems to come to those who make certain additional contributions to their own salvation. So the conscience becomes the symbol for, as it says in Hamlet, for conscience doth make cowards of us all. Every time we outrage conscience, we suffer. Every time we go against it, we regret it. And yet, in many cases, conscience is something we would love to forget. We wish we could go against it, because it interferes with so many things that we want to do. But what are the things that it interferes with? We now realize more and more that the things it interferes with are things that we should not do. Once we begin to deceive or corrupt our integrities, it becomes easier and easier. And false guidance comes to us. A false guidance which is largely the result of the pressure from the outside, so that we divide between the guardian angel and the guardian on the threshold in this way, that one, the guardian angel, represents the descent of spiritual grace. The other, the guardian on the threshold, is a false concept or false standard of integrity that is built upon the contamination by worldliness. Now, selfishness, of course, is toxic. All negative vibrations are toxic. Everything that we shouldn't do and we insist on doing is a damage to the whole composite nature with which we were endowed. Therefore, that we all are trying to do is to find the courage to follow conscience, to follow the integrities of life, and to go on according to the spirit of our faith, a spirit which depends for its perfection, its manifestation, and its fulfillment upon us. There is nothing to be gained by perpetuating evil. It becomes perhaps the fulfillment of the whole story that we recognize in the life of Christ, who came to protect people, to save humanity from the weaknesses of their own natures. And this process of saving is not to be fulfilled or cannot be fulfilled unless the Christ in you performs the labor.
Manly P. Hall was surrounded by those who wrongfully sought to use the occult for power, personal gain, and to live forever. He would eventually play victim to what his widow referred to as a satanic murder. Con men looking to obtain possession of rare alchemy books alleged to contain the elixir of life took advantage of Hall in his later years and murdered him, seeking the secret knowledge of immortality. Through nasty court battles and investigations into Hall's untimely death, his widow sold some of these sought-after alchemical manuscripts to the Getty Museum, where they were reposed as a private collection under lock and key. Through nasty court battles and investigations into Manly P. Hall's untimely death, his widow sold some of these alchemy manuscripts to the Getty Museum, where we are at right now, where they've been kept safe and under lock and key. However, we have been able to obtain digital copies of these manuscripts, and I must warn you, these are graphic and they are not for the faint of heart. Many of these manuscripts are hundreds of years old, and they contain what elite believe to be the secret of immortality. Before proceeding, we must first have a basic understanding of alchemy, the esoteric literature that surrounds it, and how it has been misused throughout the ages on into modern times. Much of ancient knowledge, wisdom, and understanding made its way into European culture by way of the Ottoman Empire through the intermingling of European, Asian, and Middle Eastern secret societies. The Dark Ages were transformed, bridging classic antiquity with the modern era by way of the Renaissance through people like Leonardo da Vinci, who traveled to ancient Anatolia, now modern Turkey. Thus, the word alchemy, or alchemia, is the Arabic word for chemistry. Charlatans, frustrated with their inability to rectify the wisdom and understanding of the ancient mysteries, turned them into parlor tricks for the amusement of unenlightened elites seeking more power. Desperate attempts at immortality and fortune turned the provocative symbols of alchemy into tools of torture. This image, dated around 1800, is a facsimile of an early work by Nicholas Flamel, circa 1400. As legend would hold, Flamel learned the secrets of immortality through his personal study of alchemy and lived to be over 200 years old. Flamel's own description of this image goes as follows.
There is a king with a great sword, who made to be killed in his presence by some soldiers a great multitude of little infants, whose mothers wept at the feet of the unpitiful soldiers, the blood of which infants was afterwards by other soldiers gathered up and put in a great vessel, wherein the sun and the moon came to bathe themselves. And because that this history did represent the more part of that of the innocent slain by Herod, and that in this book I learned the greatest part of the art, these hieroglyphic symbols of this secret science, I will not represent unto you that which was written in good and intelligible Latin, for God would punish me, because I should commit a greater wickedness than he who wished that all the men of the world had but one head, that he might cut it off with one blow. Having with me, therefore, this fair book, I did nothing else day nor night but study upon it, understanding very well all the operations that it showed, that taught the philosopher's stone.
Alchemy has always been a veiled craft with obscure images interpretable only by those initiated into their true meaning. The legend surrounding the philosopher's stone suggests that it is the secret elixir of life, giving immortality to those whom discover it. Experts on the subject argue that these alchemical illustrations are metaphoric for the process of transforming the human condition from a state of ignorance and the fear of physical mortality through an enlightened awakening into the spiritual immortality of the soul, liberating one's own consciousness, thereby transcending the fear of death. Thus, the gift offered by the Philosopher's Stone is purely metaphysical and not physical, corresponding with the soul and not the body. Rosicrucianism, which is the Christianization of alchemy, uses the Philosopher's Stone as a symbol of Jesus Christ as the secret to salvation. Nevertheless, perverted interpretations of alchemy find their way into sorcery and black magic by those seeking its powers for personal gain. In an interpretation which comes much later, the Philosopher's Stone is a jewel from Lucifer's crown, which gave him great powers. In a heavenly battle between angels, the jewel was broken off and fell to earth from heaven. It has been mythologized to give powers of fame, fortune, and immortality to those who find it. The true interpretation of this image is simple. There is a choice between vice or virtue, succumbing to desire or following one's conscience, seeking personal gain through the sacrifice of others, slaughtering innocents in order to gain temporary satisfaction at the cost of losing one's soul. We can see how the perverted interpretation of alchemy could compel the power-hungry to engage in grotesque, ritualistic behavior. For example, Gilles de Rais, a 15th century leader in the French army, sought after individuals who knew alchemy and how to summon demons. He desired occult powers for personal gain. Ultimately, he was put to death after confessing to pedophilia and the gruesome murder of hundreds of children. The Countess Elizabeth Bathory, known as the Blood Countess, was a Hungarian noblewoman deemed the greatest serial killer of all time, having taken baths in human blood to retain her beauty and youth. She is compared to Vlad the Impaler as contributing to the legends of vampires. In the late 19th and early 20th century, people such as Aleister Crowley created their own debased versions of the occult, dominating through popular culture the more profound and authentic appreciation of the ancients by people like Manly P. Hall.
Aleister Crowley, the man who called himself the Beast 666, black magician, drug fiend, sex addict.
To hell with Christianity, rationalism, Buddhism. I want blasphemy, murder, rape, revolution.
Aleister Crowley declared the death of Christianity. He was to be the new Messiah that would replace the pallid dead Christ.
Since his death in 1947, Crowley has become an icon of rebellion. The great beast died in 1947. Crowley had pushed the same boundaries 40 years earlier. He was now a 60s icon.
From the 1960s into the 21st century, satanic rites and rituals began to flourish, surfacing in pop culture as newfangled expressions of profanity. We can see the more modern expressions of this sick and twisted superstition with the use of blood transfusions from children and babies by the elite and/or aborted fetal tissue to extend one's life beyond the pitfalls of mortality. Though most who study the occult and New Age philosophy themselves are not evil, this is occultism's dark secret. In the next part of this series, we shall examine how evil is being used to dominate our culture through a subversive plan to change the cultural landscape of society, targeting children and young adults with sophisticated propaganda. There you have it. I mean, what you can actually see here in the manuscripts themselves is this obsession with children and the obsession with the children's blood, essentially thinking that the children's blood will actually give them immortality. Now, today, through science, there is something to that, right? But we know that taking children's blood and consuming it or injecting it into your body is evil, okay? But notice how there's this interesting other parallel where you have, you know, the other part of these societies where they're maintaining literature and information, right? How, you know, we have also through Christianity, right? Christianity believes that we can be renewed and gain eternal life and eternal salvation through the blood of Jesus Christ, right? So the Satanists pervert that. They twist it and they turn it into, we're going to, you know, sacrifice the blood of all these children, the blood of all these innocents, right? For our own good and for our eternal immortality or something. Like they think that they're going to live longer by consuming the blood of children. Now, we know that throughout Hollywood there have been, you know, there have been these medical procedures and these serums that celebrities are putting on their face, and they are harvesting children for their own youth and longevity. Check it out.
Oprah's favorites. She says it's a miracle fountain of youth and her magic wrinkle cure. So I'm going to put a little on your hand.
I'd do that. Oprah did.
Yeah, Oprah did it. All right, so here, we're going to rub it right in.
How come it's red?
I'll show you in a sec, Steve. So this is made from growth hormones of human
Look,
foreskin.
the wrinkles has just disappeared. I can't even ball my hand up.
But so it's made from human foreskin. I'm sorry, Steve.
So there you see how, I mean, clearly, I doubt this was really that shocking to Steve Harvey, but what you can see is actually them trying to normalize utilizing human foreskin, baby stem cells or fetus stem cells, or even children's blood for longevity and youth, because the elite are doing it. So, hey, why not sell it, package it, and commercialize it for the people? So everyone in society can be as wicked as those in the elite. Therefore, they don't have to worry about themselves being persecuted when the masses find out the evil behavior that they're engaging in.
Through microneedling. It's like a little roller with these, some of you, I think many of you know it, and it pushes through the skin and ruptures the collagen and then boosts it. You look like a burn victim for a day, but then it pushes the
What are you pushing into the skin, Sandra?
Sarah?
Carrie? What are you pushing into the skin?
Well, you push in whatever the facialist would like to insert into your pores.
But what is it?
It is an extraction from a piece of skin that came from a young person far, far away, and they somehow figured out how to extract.
It's foreskin from a Korean baby.
So people are laughing at this in studio, but I mean, they're dead serious. That's what they are pushing and essentially trying to get the public to want to engage in as well. They're trying to normalize using babies' parts essentially for this. Now, there's many videos out there that you can see where celebrities like Madonna, in the privacy of her own home in her bathroom, is, you know, she's undergoing bizarre rituals where she can be seen laying in her bathroom when they are, you know, doing what appears to be some kind of a ritual. And this is where she is getting blood transfusions, essentially. And you see also in other clips where they actually have these little children present. Who are these children? Why do the celebrities adopt these children or bring these children into them? Little children from foreign countries. You have to wonder, is this some kind of blood trafficking, essentially? Are these children donor matches? I mean, these are all questions we should be asking. But this is something that's becoming more mainstream. They are trying to normalize it. Look at this. How a society gala was used to sell young blood transfusions to baby boomers desperate to cheat death. You have these occults who have gained so much power, these satanic occult groups within the elites, within the power structure, because they can sell youth and longevity and an appearance of living longer to the upper elite and the super wealthy. And in doing so, they have gained power, and they're trying to normalize this amongst the general society. Well, I hope that today's episode has been very enlightful for you. I mean, this really just scratches the surface. This is the tip of the iceberg, guys, but I encourage you to go out there and do your own research as well. I'm Millie Weaver, signing off.